You're listening to the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS podcast with hosts Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Better Baseball MLB DFS Playbook live stream here. We are not recording, we're live. I do this all the time. You're live. We're live on a Monday. It's 8 games. Listen, we get a little brush off the weekend rustiness there. We're live. It's 8 games we're talking about here on a Monday on the Better Sports Network and the Fantasy Alarm social channels. James, my guy, how you doing?
Happy Monday, John. We are live here on Fantasy Alarm and the Better Sports Network, not recording, live, L-I-V-E. Also spells out live. In case you're learning the English language, it's crappy language to learn, honestly.
Sure.
All these words that are
multiple
the same.
words spelled the same, different meanings, definitions. Yeah.
terrible language, truthfully. Doing good. Interesting slate. Like no top end starting talent. Like there no Cy Young Award prospect.
At least the pitchers that we talked about this morning are still on the slate.
That is true. We've had a tough go with that.
Been a problem
we have had a tough go with that lately.
Problem for us lately.
Still some very good offenses and spots with the likes of Quinn Priester making his second turnaround in the rotation, Adam Wainwright coming off the IL, Carl Kaufman as the long man or the expected long man for the Colorado Rockies. So, Patrick Corbin, a day we used to celebrate, now maybe a day we're looking to use. And sneak peek behind the curtain, John. It wasn't just you liking Patrick Corbin. It is the field as well, and that's something we can get into in a little bit. But a very interesting 8-game slate with a lot of offenses that we're gonna like.
Yep, for sure here. Just a quick shout out again before we dump into everything. This is the final week. For those of you who are tuning in, final week to get access to our All Sports Pro package for 50% off when you use promo code MLB50. It's $19.98 a month for the first 6 months. When you use promo code MLB50 at checkout, you go to fantasyalarm.com/allpro. If you don't use that promo code, after the end of this week, bumps up to $39.98. Still get access to all of the content that you see here on screen. All sports, all coverage, you name it, it covers it, but at more than double the cost. So get involved now. fantasyalarm.com/allpro, promo code LB50 to save you 50% off there. James, let's talk a little bit of RT Sports, real-time fantasy sports. Our partners over there, you go to rtsports.com/alarm, promo code alarm23. We'll get new users a 100% deposit match up to $200 when they sign up. They got a great daily DFS pick'em game. They got a bunch of best ball contests, and on this show we give out our daily RT Sports pick'em plays of the day. So let's get to it. Here we are taking a look at the RT Sports DFS pick'em field for today's slate. James, I'll let everybody know what we got going on here today.
Yeah, so this is the real-time sports pick'em contest, their daily pick'em contest, rather. And what you have to do is you set a lineup of player props, hit them all, and win. They have baseball, golf, when basketball and football return. They'll have those two. First-time depositors get a 100% instant match up to $200 using deposit code ALARM23. Go to rtsports.com/alarm. That is rtsports.com/alarm. And first-time depositors get a 100% instant match up to $200 using deposit code ALARM23. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
James, looking at the board here today, I got to tell you, there are a couple of player props that just don't make any sense. And you, sir, have it highlighted. What in the world are we looking at with Corbin Carroll, more than 5.5 fantasy points here, going up against Adam Wainwright? He's like our favorite DFS play of the day. He's the cover of the show.
Yep.
He can get that with a hit and a stolen base in the very first inning against Adam Wainwright. He can do it.
You get it with a strikeout and a stolen base and then a run. He doesn't even have to get a hit.
I am suspicious, to say the least, with how low that prop is there. So we're gonna lock the first one into the day.
Yes.
More than 5.5 fantasy points here for Corbin Carroll. The second one, go up to the Washington Nationals game. Our new favorite leadoff hitter. More than half a run scored for CJ Abrams. The man has been on an absolute tear. He gets some combination today of Bird and Kaufman on the mound for Colorado here. You know we've been rolling the natty hard on this show. And Abrams has been tremendous for us. So those are the two that I think we start the day off. We're looking at a little 3Xer. Any more you want to add to today's plays? James, did we lose James? We might have lost James. Might be a little frozen. There he is. He's back.
Am I back?
You're back. You're frozen for a bit. I know you're down south, and sometimes you get those weird like lightning spikes.
Dude.
You know, so yeah.
It's just when there's too many Fangraphs tabs open.
Okay? We got the Fangraphs.
We have too many tabs. We have too many tabs open. All right, so there's going to be a lot of strikeouts in Seattle, Minnesota. I like Luis Castillo here to go over 7 strikeouts. He had 11 in his last outing against Minnesota. We know Minnesota's propensity to strike out against right-handed pitching. They lead the league. They lost Byron Buxton today. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because he does strike out quite a bit, but he is their most potent power hitter, and that's been Luis Castillo's MO over the last 10 starts, 13 home runs allowed. So now we remove Buxton from the equation. Luis Castillo going over 7 strikeouts against the Minnesota Twins.
All right, I like that. Let's lock in 3 plays in here for today. Corbin Carroll, more than 5.5 fantasy scores. CJ Abrams, more than half a run. Luis Castillo, more than 7 strikeouts here. Get an opportunity to 6X your money here today. If you want more RT Sports DFS pick and plays, go check out the Fantasy Alarm YouTube, Fantasy Alarm social channels. Howard Bender gave you his 2 pick plays of the day earlier on today. So go ahead, check those out. Get involved. Real-time fantasy sports. Go rtsports.com/alarm. Promo code alarm23 when you sign up. New users getting 100% deposit match up to $200. So, James, RT Sports now in the books. Let's turn our attention to today's DraftKings main slate and everything that we got going on over there today. As you mentioned, 8 games on the board. You did the playbook. Let's start off at the pitching. We liked Luis Castillo for props. We talked about that one already. Where are we going as our next group of pitchers then here today?
So Yu Darvish is the cover of my playbook today. And although Yu Darvish has not had 3 good starts in a row this year, if you look at his entire resume, you cannot sell me on 3 good starts in a row. And that's obviously concerning when you're paying premium dollar for a starting pitcher. He's $9,400 on today's slate. And he is checking in as the highest rostered pitcher of the day by a significant margin. But he gets the Pittsburgh Pirates team, who has been the worst team in baseball against right-handed pitching in July. They're worse in OPS. They're worse in WOBA. They're 28th in ISO. They're bottom 3 in pretty much every category. Right. They're striking out a bunch. And Darvish is coming off really good outings back-to-back games against really good offenses like Philadelphia and Toronto on the road in both. Now he gets the luxury of his home ballpark where he's pitched significantly better this year against the league's worst offense right now against right-handed pitching. So I love you, Darvish, 94. He's actually my top pitcher of the day over Castillo. I have no problem getting to Castillo, but I also have no problem saving $1,200 getting to Darvish. I'm pretty sure like that's mostly what the field is saying. Like I can get similar upside and it's a better matchup for Darvish for $1,200 cheaper.
As long as he can avoid the bat of Henry Davis, you know.
The bat of Henry
what he did to Otani on us on Friday.
Right. So I like Darvish. I wrote up Logan T. Allen in the playbook today, but I just, again, I'm going to just preface it by saying there obviously is something to be said about 77 pitches in his return. And the reason I bring that up is because we saw in the few starts prior to him being sent down, he lacks command at times, and his pitch count gets run up very fast. Like Kansas City start prior to the break, didn't give up any runs, didn't make it through 4 innings and threw 100 pitches.
Right.
The start prior, he walked 3, had 5 strikeouts, could only muster up 4 innings against Oakland, and that was at 89 pitches. And then the start in San Diego, like he obviously labored through 4 walks in that start,
right.
77 pitches, 3 innings. Like there has been a constant when he is walking people and throwing a lot of pitches, Logan Allen doesn't get deep into games. Now, there was a lot of factors in the Pittsburgh game. They have a big lead. Do we first start back up? Like, let's just end on a high note. I like Logan T. Allen. I don't like the ownership that he's getting because he's getting a lot of it. And I don't like the 77 pitches. So I like the talent. I like the matchup. Kansas City's bottom 10 in OPS and WOBA against lefties. They are top 10 in strikeout rate. Everything's pointing to Logan T. Allen being fine. Their best hitter in Kansas City is, like you mentioned, 4 for his last 40. So there's a lot going for Logan T. Allen. It's just 8,700 for a guy who's maybe has a cap of pitches. We don't know what that cap can be. And if he's throwing a lot of pitches early, like that could be a problem. So I think the reasonable pivot is going to Kenta Maeda, $8,600, who has had as much upside more as consistently as anyone else on the slate, which is really weird to say, but like we're now looking at 26 plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 5 starts. Now, am I playing Maeda in cash? No. We've talked about the floor to ceiling discrepancy here. Yeah. He has negative 17 on it. Like that has to be the widest net. He has a 50 fantasy point discrepancy from ceiling to floor, which is, I mean, that's actually
it was a tough day against the Yankees.
It was a tough day. So like, and results in a 2-month IL stint. So like there could have there was something going on, right?
I was gonna say, he's only given up more than 3 earned runs one other time this year. So on the whole, he's been a fairly serviceable starter.
Yep.
The strikeouts are what's more appealing. The recent uptick in strikeouts has been nice. So I'm with you there. I mean, Maeda certainly seems a little bit safer now. Obviously, he's drawing the tougher starting and pitching opponent, so you need Minnesota to come through. But what do we talk about with Luis Castillo on the show? And I guess we should talk about it right now for those of you who are just tuning in. Maybe you missed the podcast this morning. Minnesota hits a lot of home runs, and Luis Castillo is giving up a lot of home runs. At least 2 home runs in 4 of his last 5. And would you say it was like 13 home runs over his last 7 starts or something like
13 that? 13 over his last 10, and he allowed 6 over his first 10. So he's doubled up the home runs in his last 10 starts versus his first 10.
Yeah, so not good. Not good if you're giving up the home run ball. Now, again, he's been able to pitch around it. Pitched against Minnesota, gave up 2 of those home runs. There are only 3 earned of those 2 home runs and 11 strikeouts. On this show on Friday, I said, well, sure, Lance Lynn can get a lot of strikeouts, but if he puts 2 guys on and one of those home runs is a 3-run homer, then the next homer is a 2-run homer, it's over for him. And that's literally what happened. He gave up 5 earned in 2 innings and gave up 5 home runs, and didn't matter how many strikeouts he had. He just couldn't overcome. So if that ends up being the case for Castillo, where some of these solo home runs aren't solo home runs, then I could be a little bit tougher for him at 10-6. But you almost have to assume somebody in Minnesota is going yard tonight, the way Luis Castillo is pitching. So, maybe that's enough for Maeda to get a win here. So I like that in the mid-tier. I also mentioned to you, I think Bielak's a little interesting. If you look, depending on the Rangers lineup tonight, we know Seager's on the IL. Do we have a Rangers confirmed lineup yet?
We do. So there is no Adolis Garcia tonight.
Okay.
Once again, there is no Mitch Garver tonight. So the lineup reads for Texas: Semyon Janikowski, Nathaniel Lowe, Josh Jung, Jonah Heim, Ezekiel Duran, Brad Miller hitting 7th, Leody Taveras hitting 8th, and Josh Smith 9th. I actually went back, John, and looked after we talked on the podcast, and I wrote Bielak up. And the reason I wrote Belak up today was you made good points about the lineup last night. He's been better. And then I saw the Patrick Corbin ownership. I saw people talking about Patrick Corbin on Twitter this morning. Well, now X, now officially X.
The logo's changed to X now.
Yeah, the logo is now officially X.
URL still says Twitter. I kind of dig the logo. I hope it stays.
Well, there were pictures today of the Twitter building getting Twitter removed from it. So I'm assuming this is official. Anyways, I saw on x.com/twitter.com that people were talking Patrick Corbin up. He is the 5th highest projected rostered pitcher today. Almost 20%.
Patrick Corbin.
Patrick Corbin, 24%. So in my brain, I'm like looking at it. I know like it's a good spot, and we talked about it, and I get it. I'm not saying Patrick Corbin isn't a fine play, but Belak has been pretty good of late. Now, the strikeouts have obviously been down from where they were earlier in the year. Yeah. He had some solid strikeout outings earlier in the year. But 2 of the last 3, he's had 20-plus fantasy points. Now, those were both against Colorado, to be fair. And the 3rd game was against Seattle, which he pitched fine, 2 earned runs over 5 innings. This Texas lineup doesn't look the same, and Belak's getting 1/5 the ownership that Patrick Corbin's getting for $500 more.
Right.
It's just one of those situations where he's been significantly better at home. If you look at the metrics at home for Belak, like crazy good at home versus road numbers. And if you're telling me there's chalk Patrick Corbin, I'm way more likely to stack against that than play a Patrick Corbin, despite how well he's been pitching. He still has a 5 ERA on the year. He's still been really bad for 2+ seasons. So after I saw that, I was like, I'm just riding with John here, going Brandon Belak over Patrick Corbin. And again, Patrick Corbin's fine, but at 25%, I'm shying away from that a little bit.
Sure. Listen, again, I just felt like he was maybe an interesting pivot there. Given like you mentioned, it is still Patrick Corbin. So.
It is Patrick. Dude, at the end of the day, like, yeah, he has had good starts. Mixed in with 6 earned and 7 earned in 2 of his last 5, right? Like, old Patrick Corbin's still in there. Don't you worry. Like,
he's 3 games of 10 or more hits allowed over the last 7 starts. So,
and even in the good starts, 5+ hits, you know? So, I mean, look, he has 18 home runs allowed this year. He's doesn't strike people out. 150 base runners and 114 innings this year. Like,
I will say this is kind of interesting. If you go over I'm looking at DraftKings Sportsbook here. The money line on this game is -110 for both. So they're basically calling this a dead heat matchup between the Rangers and Astros. But if you look at the pitching props, they do not like Brandon Belak. He is -400 to get it to not record the win. He is -150 to give up more than 2.5 earned runs. They're more in on John Gray today than they are Brandon Belak. We've seen Gray struggle here, but just interesting that this game would sort of be a dead heat, but the pitching props are so against one versus the other. So,
well, Belak's numbers, like when you look at them, are not great surface level. Like you look at Houston, right? I mean, first Texas has implied 4.7 runs. They have a 350 team WOBA against right-handed pitching is really good. Belak, like, surface level doesn't look good. 340 WOBA allowed to righties, 358 allowed to lefties. So, like, not great. Last 30 days, John, small sample. 202 WOBA allowed to righties, 243 WOBA allowed to lefties. And what Belak has done, if you look at even just, like, go to his recent game logs, ground ball after ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. He's been a ground ball machine. So you got to hope that rears its head here in Texas. And again, 1.3 earned run average less at home, 287 compared to 4 on the road. 8 more fantasy points per game at home in the same amount of starts. Like, he's just been infinitely better, over a strikeout per inning at home. For whatever reason, he's just been good in Houston. So I know they're not pointing to him, but again, like when we're just talking DFS and you put aside the Vegas, what what Vegas is telling you.
Yeah.
What DFS, what the ownership is telling me is that the field is getting to Patrick Corbin. And I'm saying if there's anyone in this range that's piquing my interest, it's Belak at 1/5 the ownership of Patrick Corbin. You know, like that, because you look at the rest of this tier, and there's not a single person that is even really remotely interesting. Like I mentioned Ryan Nelson on the podcast this morning. Then I went and looked today. St. Louis is like one of the highest projected rostered teams today. They're one of the highest projected scoring teams of the day. And I get it because they do have good offense and Ryan Nelson's been bad, but like that's scary to play Ryan Nelson in that regard. Yeah. So, I mean, I get what the props are saying for Belak. I understand it. I'm still going to bank on him over a 25% Patrick Corbin. There's no.
I'd be interested to see what the Rangers lineup like production is without Seager and Adolis.
Right.
You know,
how many games has Adolis? Yeah, how many games has even Adolis missed this year?
Right. Seager's missed some time. He was on the IL earlier this year. We needed the usage tool there for that one, right?
Yeah.
Would have been cool. Take him off the floor. Who gets the bump? So.
Take him off the floor.
It's almost basketball season. It's fine. All right, let's go on over to the hitters. Catcher position here. Got Will Smith, Salvi Perez, William Contreras there up at the top. Jonah Heim. You mentioned Elias Diaz versus Corbin, a lefty matchup for him there. And Stevenson's up over 4K against Colin Ray tonight. Where are you at your catcher spot?
Before I hop into that, John, if you guys are listening, make sure to send in your comments and questions into the chat. Make sure you hit the like button over on the video and subscribe to our channel. We'd greatly appreciate it. Closing in on 4,000 subs here, John, over on the big YouTube. We're closing in on 4K. So, and Mark, perfect timing as Mark chimes in here. Not that it matters because he's not on the correct no monsters at all for crime. I mean, not that those guys are monsters to begin with, but
sure.
Just disrespecting Ezekiel Tovar, even though you'd probably call him like Eric Tovar, but
guys that hit lefties. No left. The guys that hit lefties out of the lineup tonight.
Grishik has big numbers against lefties.
Yeah. I think Elias Diaz may as well.
I think we looked at this earlier, and it was Elias Diaz is someone that we used to know, John. No, actually, good numbers against lefties. The top half of this lineup actually has good numbers against lefties.
Jerkson Profar.
Yeah, Profar has good numbers. Tovar does. Elias Diaz, Grishik, Nolan Jones, surprisingly, and then the bottom of the half of the lineup is 0. But anyways, back to catcher. So I don't really have much interest. I do have William Contreras in the core plays. He has been really good lately. Graham Ashcraft has been bad against right-handed batters this year. He's been bad against both splits. But Milwaukee's an interesting team today. 4.8 implied runs is really solid. Contreras hasn't been great against righties overall this year. He's been very good against lefties, but averages over 8 fantasy points per game against righties. I really like him at 45 just with the way he's playing. You can get to Elias Diaz if you want. But honestly, I just got right to Kybert. Like, I was not messing around at catcher. I think there's kind of one guy at each tier. It's William Contreras up top, Kybert Ruiz, the non-forgotten man anymore because he just keeps hitting, 8-game hit streak. And then I think it's David Fry at $2,300 going up against Ryan Yarbrough. You can play him in multiple positions, but obviously you'd want to play him at catcher. He's been really good lately. He's been really good against left-handed pitching since being called up. So I didn't really mess around with much else because I think this position as a whole is kind of per usual trash, and today is no different.
Yeah, listen, I was plugging in Kybert into a lot of lineups, then was happy to see Fry in here because it does open up just some more salary if you need to get away from it at your catcher position here today. So I'm with you there. Wasn't really looking to spend up. I had some, again, I like Belak, but I had some Jonah Heim interest there as well, just for the power that he has. And Belak is a guy that definitely gives up some power, so could have gone there. I see through you in here.
See through you. Nailed it.
What do we got here? What's he saying?
He said dinger. He said finger, but he meant dinger.
The dinger for Contreras versus okay. He's giving us our BVP.
We know who. If we want BVP, we know who to go to. We have our BVP-ologist in chat. I see through you. Here.
Grande BVP excitement.
Yeah.
So yeah, listen, I agree with you. I like Jonah Heim as well in that lineup, just in case that comes through there. Overall at first base here, we mentioned earlier that Freddie Freeman is kind of a lock and load play. If you're looking to spend all the way up there, you certainly can. We're in on all Arizona Diamondbacks here tonight. So Christian Walker at 54, going against Adam Wainwright. That works. DePrince, you're not late. You're on time, man. We're
on time. Just on time, man.
We only went over a little bit of pitching here. The usual suspects that we're in on. If you got any questions, throw them in there. We'll help you out. We'll answer them. So again, Walker, Freeman, top two guys up at the top here. I think you could go Votto against Ray if you wanted to. I know
he's been so bad.
Just been a power guy, no real batting average going on there. But it just dumps down into value tier. I mean, I don't mean to rattle off a whole bunch of names down here, but I mean, that's kind of where we're at, right? Daniel Lowe, Meneses is down here. Kirilloff against Castillo. So again, somebody's home running off of Luis Castillo tonight. Could very well be Kirilloff, who's as hot as anybody on that team right now. So,
yeah, it could very well be Kirilloff. They've been good, like you mentioned, in the power department to begin with. I like just mainly the top half of that lineup. And by that, I mean Kirilloff, Julian, really? Kepler? Like just Kepler? 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Like the 2, 3, 4 in that line. I really like. So, yeah, I mean, I think Kirilloff is an excellent play here. I think you can go up a little bit to Brandon Belt against Michael Grove. We talked about Michael Grove kind of extensively on the podcast this morning where he struggled mightily against lefties. And no surprise here, John, a little surprise on the Vladdy front, but the top two first baseman rostership plays tonight are Vladdy and Brandon Belt. And the Belt thing doesn't surprise me just with how bad Michael Grove's been against lefties. So if you want to one-off Brandon Belt, I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah. So
I love both those guys. I actually, right now, in my one lineup that I'm playing tonight, I'm playing Dominic Smith at first base. $2,700. They're opening with Bird and Carl Kaufman still expected to be the long man here.
Yeah.
Dude, Smith, at one time, a top hitting prospect that just never found his footing in New York.
So the Mets didn't know where to play him.
Because the Mets didn't know where to play him. Dude, he's kind of raking right now. Over his last 10 games, 382, 447, 588 slug. The power, a little to be left desired, a home run, 4 doubles, but 8 RBIs over that span. He has 4 in his last 2 games, 4 multi-hit games over his last 5. And again, Washington has a 5.2 implied run total. They are
they highly rostered tonight, or are we getting them cheap again?
Yeah, they're gonna be a little. So let me pull it up. Let's see what the updated numbers look like.
You pull it up. I'll answer Prince's question right here about favorite FanDuel starter. I'm going to Yu Darvish here tonight on FanDuel. He's $800 cheaper than Luis Castillo at $10K. We like this spot already for him against Pittsburgh, so I would go Darvish over on FanDuel today.
I'll just follow up with that, and I'll get back to the ownership. I would my favorite. I love Darvish. Is actually Kenta Maeda 84. He's 8,400. I think that's a little too cheap. I built the lineup on FanDuel tonight to let me get pretty much anyone I wanted with Maeda.
So Darvish and Maeda are two FanDuel guys for you tonight, Prince.
I would say those are my 2 favorite on the slate in general, including DraftKings. So Washington is getting some pretty solid ownership. Toronto is checking in as the highest roster team, Arizona, and then Washington.
Michael Grove will do that to you. Right?
Yeah, Michael Grove will do that. And, of course, today's going to be the slate where I don't stack against Michael Grove because I religiously stack against Michael Grove.
I have an autographed Michael Grove rookie card, and it's only selling for $1. Nobody wants it. So.
Yep. John, here's something interesting. Texas is the 4th highest projected roster team tonight. Again, brings us back to the Belak thing. It's Belak could obviously get shelled here and whatever.
He was running. Did he do it for him the other day for our guy IC3? when he played out
on the
slate,
course
right?
on the course slate. Yeah, on the course slate.
The course slate. So listen, if he doesn't have to throw a shutout, but if he goes and gives you 6 innings to earn 5 Ks, then he's doing the job. So
yeah. So just to round out first, I think if you're not paying up Freeman, Walker, Vladdy, I'm honestly just ignoring all the fluff in between. I'm just going all the way down. Belt, Kirilloff, and Dom Smith. Those would be my 3 non-spend ups at first.
Nice. All right, second base position here. Again, your usual suspects are up at the top here. Betts, Simeon, McLean, who's been really good. But again, all roads kind of lead back to Arizona for us. Ketel Marte here, sitting at $5,500. Probably the easy spend up for us when we're building our lines tonight.
Yeah. When I was building, I had one Arizona player and I was like, oh, I can't do this. What am I doing? Like, I literally said out loud to myself, I wonder what my wife, was she talking to himself? I literally was. I was like, what am I doing? I said it out loud. What am I doing? And that sometimes you need those pep talks. Like, why am I not playing more Arizona? Right? Like, you just say it in your brain. Ketel Marte has been incredibly hot lately. I wish the speed was back. Still not there like it was a couple years ago. And
the only time he stole a base is when I talked about it, how it was plus 1,700 live to steal a bag.
Yep,
didn't bet it, and then he stole a bag the very next thing, and I was like, unbelievable.
Yeah, it was actually absurd odds.
Yeah, plus 1,700. It was a live bet because we were betting Jake McCarthy live stolen bases, and I was like, Marte's plus 1,700, and then he literally stole a bag.
Hasn't really stolen that. Oh wait, he just went. Oh, yep,
there it is.
No throw even.
Ketel
Marte, clear cut. I think he's number one option. You can get to Semien if you're not playing Belak. Play McLean, who's hotter than anyone in that lineup. I will say Colin Ray's been pretty good against righties. He struggles mightily with the left-handed variety, so keep that in mind. But yeah, Marte's number one spend up.
Get to the Reds outfield today then, right?
Reds outfield for sure. Yep.
Down the mid tier, I like Dubon down here again at 4K. I like Houston because Gray's kind of struggled. Asking on Q here, Jimenez. Listen, he hits lefties really well. Cleveland on a whole kind of struggling again a little bit here. We didn't talk about Yarbrough. I recommended him the last time he was on the slate. Pitched really well against Detroit. 6 innings, 1 earned against Cleveland. I mean, I don't mind probably going back here. I mean, if you want to play Jimenez, that's fine. But I also think Yarbrough is a decent pitching option if you're really just trying to get starts and scrubby here. He's not going to strike anybody out because Cleveland doesn't strike out.
I think that's the problem for me. Because Cleveland doesn't strike out, I would probably pass.
I just don't know if I'm looking to stack against him though.
Cleveland has decent numbers suggesting he should be fine. They should be fine. 5.1 implied runs is solid. They have decent numbers. And some of these numbers have come around. Naylor's numbers have risen against lefties. David Fry having a 450 WOBA against lefties obviously helps them as a team. Yeah. Jimenez, I don't know. He's taken a step back. He has not done much against lefties lately. Last 32 at bats, 157 ISO against left-handed pitching.
Yarbrough strikeout prop. So PrizePicks has it at 3. DraftKings Sportsbook has it at 2.5. Minus 140 on the over 2.5. So if PrizePicks has it set at 3 or RT Sports has theirs up at 3, I'd probably take the more because you can at least get the push. If it's at 3.5, I pass. But I think it's doable for him to get the 3. But he is not a strikeout guy, and Cleveland's one of the lower strikeout teams in baseball. So it's risky.
Dude, listen to this strike. These are their strikeout rates just for their first 4 batters against left-handed pitching. 11, 14, 12, 12. That's their top half of the lineup. They don't strike out. They just put the ball they just put the ball in play. Will Brennan has a 9% strikeout rate. The highest strikeout rate in their lineup is 22.9%. Josh Bell.
Yeah,
that is ridiculous. So
that's on the season. What's their strikeout rates versus lefties though?
That's versus lefties. That's their strikeout rate versus lefties. 22.9 is the highest on their team.
Yeah, they don't strike out a lot. It's no doubt, definitely a low. It's a low prop. Our guy Mitcho medium here. I don't know. See if they gave you like a first 3 innings strikeout number. If it's 1, take the over. Right, right. Like that's see if they give. I know PrizePicks does the live game strikeout prop.
Yeah.
See if they give you one for Yarbrough tonight at like 1.5, maybe worth taking a peek there. Is Yadier Diaz starting tonight? Brennan F wants to know. DraftKings says he isn't. So either he isn't or he is. Going to go on over to X and see what X has for us.
There is no Jordan, by the way, was supposed to return today, John. He didn't. And Yadier Diaz is DHing this evening.
Okay. See if you guys can see this. Can you see this? No.
Nope.
It's a Jordan Alvarez autograph card.
Wow, right next to the desk. I don't blame you. I mean, I don't blame you. You probably touch that every day. Like, thanks, buddy. Thanks for being so good.
Yeah.
Yadier is in the lineup.
Okay. Maybe DraftKings says he isn't because they hadn't updated their lineups yet? Question mark. I don't really know. But he is in their lineup. What do they got him hitting? They got him hitting.
I wonder. So yeah, DraftKings has Corey Julks in the lineup. The initial lineup that I'm seeing has.
I'm looking at Underdog. Does Underdog have the lineup?
Yeah, they have Yadier Diaz. So we'll keep an eye on that if that updates. But
yeah, Yanier's at DH tonight.
Yeah, they apparently have him hitting 6. We will monitor if that is correct or not.
And we'll keep it up and we'll let you know there. So, all right. Any other second baseman here? We talked to Jimenez.
Yadier Diaz is officially DHing according to Brian McTaggart. He is the Astros beat writer for MLB.
Beat writer. Cool. Julian against Castillo, 3,300.
Yep.
Okay. And Duran against Velox, good price, 34. Andy's second and third base eligible again. So, like, shout out to the DraftKings gods for giving us the dual positional eligibility on him there. Anybody else?
Brendan Donovan, 3,500. I've been counting him pretty hard. Continues to hit well. The 0 for 5.
Whenever they actually play him.
Yeah, well, because he can only DH now. He's like can't throw, and he's not Bryce Harper, so they're not gonna like give him he's not gonna bat every day, you know. So, Brendan Donovan would be the only other guy. I like Ha-Seong Kim. I think the Padres are a little sneaky tonight. 5.2 implied runs. That's the most for their one of the 5 lowest roster teams of the slate, and they're implied over 5 runs. We saw Quinn Priester. He looked terrible. He has no strike. He had no strikeout upside really at the minor league level, and that is a direct correlation to not being able to strike people out at the major league level, right?
Sure.
So, Ha-Seong Kim has been good lately, hitting 320, 950 OPS over his last 10 games. I know he hits lefties better, but he's been better against righties lately. I can get to Kim at 4,200. Also now dual eligible.
Yeah, second short, like that. All right, third base. Ellie's up at the top. Arenado, Ramirez, Bregman, Machado up over 5K. How would you rank the top price third baseman?
So this is probably, this is a perfect segue from what we were literally just talking about. This is contrarian. I'm going to say Manny Machado is number 1. And he's been better lately. And again, Quinn Priester looked terrible in his debut. But when you look at Machado, the numbers are really coming around against right-handed pitching. They were really good against lefties specifically. They're coming around for righties, against righties. 219 ISO, now second on the team. 324 WOBA. And then you look at the last 30 days for Manny Machado. 81 plate appearance sample. 389 ISO against right-handed pitching. 447 WOBA against right-handed pitching. 8% strikeout rate. 11% walk rate. I love the Padres as a low-owned stack tonight. 5.3 implied runs tonight, or 5.2, whatever site you're looking at.
Yeah. He has the best hits, run, RBI prop in this game. His over 1.5 is set at -150. It's the best odds on the board for favorites wise in this game. So if you're in on Manny Machado, Vegas has him at -150 to collect at least 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. So
yeah, I think they're sneaky tonight because again, Quinn Priester is going to be pitching to contact, and if he's not striking out like he was earlier in the year, and he's been this good against righties, I'll put him 1. I'll put Bregman 2. With how good he's been of late. I know he cooled off a little bit on Sunday with the offer, but had homered in 3 straight. We know over the last couple of years, righties is where Bregman has lived. Like he's done all of his damage against right-handed pitching. So I'll go Bregman 2, Ramirez 3, Ellie 4, Arenado 5. I would probably only play 2 of those guys, and I like Max Muncy against Jose Barrios for $4,900.
okay,
as well.
Yeah, that was not bad. Bregman plus 600 a homer tonight. Ellie is plus 500 to homer tonight. Machado plus 380 to go yards. So just kind of the top grouping there. Mid-tier range. I like obviously Candelario.
Yeah,
$4,000 here. Going to be a pretty popular play, I think, given the matchup. Anybody else for you in the value or mid-range?
Nope. Dude, my playbook stopped at Heimer Candelario and ended like I don't think we need to go any further. Like we have good spend ups, and then Candelario, like if you wanted to play Eugenio for a possible cheap home run, if you wanted to play whatever third baseman in Arizona starts, like which is Emmanuel Rivera, as we just got the lineup, is officially starting at third. Like if you wanted to play these guys, it's fine. Just don't think they're opportunity cost at the highest level today at third base.
See if we got anything interesting in that lineup. Not really. Perdomo, Marte, Carroll, Walker, Gurriel. Yay, Gurriel's playing. Rivera, McCarthy, Kelly, because they put Moreno on the IL, and our guy Alec Thomas there hitting 9th. So good. Shortstop. Still have the Reds. We've talked about them. We haven't talked any Toronto. We've talked about everybody's hitting Michael Grove. I mean, lefties especially, they don't have any lefties. What's Cavan at? Cavan is second base outfield eligible. So we missed him in second base. We were going to hit him in outfield for sure. But if you want to spend down for Cavan Biggio at second or Brandon Belt at first, certainly can. But Bichette is here at short at $5,100. Bobby Witt hits lefties well. So if you're not a believer in Allen tonight, $4,800 for him there. But your boy Willie Adames is at home against a righty, and that righty is Graham Ashcraft. So I imagine you are locked in on some Willie Adames tonight.
Yeah, and I was just like, we always say this, right? We always say Willie Adames at home against righties. But that's just like, we don't ever dive into it. So I was just like looking into it today. I'm like, we got to be right? Like, it's got to be.
Are we wrong?
We are correct. No, we're absolutely correct.
Wrong. Yeah,
we're absolutely correct. I know. I just wanted to get numbers behind it.
Okay.
So he has a 792 OPS and a 252 ISO against right-handed pitching at home this year. Significantly better than literally any split. And he had a 236 ISO against righties last year, 203 ISO against righties this year. We know the power pedigree has been on full display for Adames. And Ashcraft has really, really, really been bad against righties for 2 years. This year, 181 ISO, 377 WOBA. Last year, 201 ISO, 390 WOBA allowed to righties. So Adames is my favorite shortstop of the day, a position that I, again, have a very small player pool with because CJ Abrams exists in the world. And it's hard not to go to Abrams. But if you are going up, it's Adames. If you're going a little above, it's Perdomo 4,100, who's been good. But I mean, dude, it's like, what are we doing with CJ Abrams? It's like
Abrams was a top 10 prospect in all of baseball last year. Yep. He was like, him and Mackenzie Gore were the centerpieces of the Juan Soto deal. They traded Abrams because they didn't have a spot to play him last year, pretty much on that Padres team. Anyways, Slow Bill as a rookie, fine. Absolute monster right now for the Nationals. Literally the player people kind of projected him, maybe even exceeding that sort of expectations. Again, you look at the overall numbers this year, they're like, 10 homers, 19 stolen bases, only hitting 256, but like the last month, he's been unreal. So, Abrams at 36. How do you? We like Adames. This is why you and I like to play the 3 max or the 20 max. You can kind of vary your exposure. If you're on FanDuel, you can play them both with the util spot. They probably also have like every infield eligibility allowed to them as well over there. Abrams was my lock in play here tonight.
To your point, John, in July through 17 games this year, CJ Abrams, and this is why if you guys watched earlier and watched our RT Sports plays, John went more than half a run. In July, 357 average, and this is a 17-game span. 17 runs scored, so he's averaging 1 run per game, which is unheard of for an entire month. 3 home runs, 10 stolen bases in 17 games. He is getting on. He's stealing second. And Lane Thomas and Heimer Candelario are driving him in like clockwork every game. He has 17 runs in 17 games this month. So he was in the write-up section of today's playbook for a reason. He is too cheap. It's one of those situations where like he's not going to get to 6K like how the first month of the year we were screaming about Corbin Carroll. Like Corbin Carroll should be 6K, not 3,100. But I bet you if he continues this, he settles up in the high 4s, low 5s if he continues to hit this way and steal a lot of bases. So I think CJ Abrams is one of the biggest locks of the entire slate.
I agree with you 100%. Abrams, by the way, kind of interesting here. It's only minus 115 for him to score a run today. Now that is the one of the bigger favorites on the board actually in that game. Lane Thomas is also minus 115. It's just interesting that the unders are so heavy here in this game for one reason or another. Maybe run scored is just an under stat anyways, as I kind of scroll through some of the odds here. It's a lot of plus odds to score runs, but not for Abrams tonight. You mentioned RT Sports where it's over half a run, more than half a run. Same thing over on PrizePicks. So if you tune into PrizePicks, we have PrizePicks videos over on YouTube channel. Abrams also there sitting at a half a run score. Corbin Carroll, by the way, on PrizePicks, his fantasy score 8.5. Not 5.5, but 8.5. So more of a reason to go to Real Time Fantasy Sports and take advantage of their DFS pick'em props over there, because Corbin Carroll's point production tonight was set at 5.5 points. rtsports.com/alarm. Promo code alarm23 at sign up gets you a 100% deposit match up to $200. Go get that great odds boost there on Corbin Carroll, 5.5 fantasy points.
John, do you see the better boss in here just crapping on Kevin Biggio? That's your boy. I mean, what do you got to say? Like, Kevin Biggio is your boy.
Last 10 numbers don't lie.
20 at bats in the last 10 games.
Don't lie.
That is correct. I don't even know if he'd be in the minors if he didn't have the name Biggio. He might just be like he might be playing for the Bananas. What are their names?
Yeah, the Bananas. Yeah, down in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. Yeah. You're right there. Why don't you go take the family to the Bananas?
Are they in Myrtle Beach?
Yeah.
No.
Well, sometimes they're the Savannah Bananas.
Wait, that's Georgia.
I know, but they travel around. They play the Myrtle Beach. They play Myrtle Beach teams and stuff like that. They move around. I guarantee you the Savannah Bananas travel 2 hours away to where you live. So
we're looking up the banana ball world tour right now. That's what
dude, they definitely go around. All right, let's go to outfield here. We got a couple more minutes left in the show. We got to build a lineup for these folks tuning in here. Those who are tuning in, you see the scroll down at the bottom. It is the final week to get the All-Pro access at a discount. 50% off the first 6 months with promo code MLB50. Includes all of our sports, including the Fantasy Football Draft Guide and the Fantasy Football NFL DFS content there. You get locked in for the next 6 months at $19.98 a month. After that, jumps up to things like $39.97. So you lose the 50% off. This is the final week. Take advantage of this if you're not yet already a Fantasy Alarm subscriber. Yes, Mark, I know South Carolina and Georgia are 2 different places. I live with Mark in South Carolina, so we're familiar with the Conway Myrtle Beach area. So,
you and Mike probably had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great. It's a great time. Newt Bar with the heel tag is a no-no. Sure. Equivalent of James telling you to take the family to the Yankees. It could have been. All right. Outfield here. Mookie Betts, Fernando Tatis, Kyle Tucker, Corbin Carroll's at 6K. We already talked about it, though. We're in on Carroll and probably Tucker at this point, right? Guy's been an absolute animal.
If anyone knows the Hey Arnold episode, pass the ball to Tucker. That's how I feel. No, well, hold on. Before we go any further, don't let Fence's over the topness on that take away my thunder. I was a Hey Arnold fan first. I'm just kidding. He's older than me, so technically he has first dibs.
He's just always quotes that.
He does. He sends it to me all the time. The time I get
even when it's not even relevant to what's going on. He's just like,
hey, Fency, I just had a baby. Pass the ball to Tucker.
Right. Fency, by the way, newsflash to James, doesn't know this yet. He'll be doing the DFS show with James on Thursday.
No, it didn't. Good to know. Good to know.
John will be off Thursday evening. 3-game Thursday slate. James and Fency will be on the show.
Shout out to me and Fency for that one. Yeah, I mean, Kyle Tucker is as hot as anyone across baseball. 395, has a 3 home run game over his last, just over the weekend. So I think, look, you can play any of these guys over 5K.
As long as one of them is Corbin Carroll.
As long as one of them is Corbin Carroll. I think Carroll is 1. Tucker is 2. Soto is 3 for me. Just given, I told you, I've been in on San Diego the entire show as a contrarian play. Soto 3. And then it's like Lane Thomas. Like, I'm okay getting to Mookie. I'm okay getting to Tatis. Yelich obviously has been great.
Yeah,
J-Rod.
I think you can play Toronto if you're not in on Grove, Springer, Lane Thomas, Fraley, Friedel. That whole crew's in tonight in this mid 4K range. We got people in chat, though. They want to talk some value. DePrince wants to know Sal Frelick. Mark wants to know McCarthy or Benson tonight. So they're already plugging in their top price outfielders, and they got to know the value tonight, James, to throw into your lineup. So talk to me. Sal Frelick, great debut, legendary debut, maybe even game-winning hits, defensive stops. And then McCarthy and Benson have been 2 of our favorite value plays all season long in lineups. And you mentioned that Colin Ray struggling against lefties this year, and Will Benson just hammering baseballs right now.
So one of those guys, if you head over to fantasyalarm.com and look at the MLB DFS playbook for today, is in the playbook written up. That would be Will Benson. This month against everybody, Will Benson has a 327 average. Actually, let me start that again. Since June 1st, 327 average, all 6 of his home runs, 1,063 OPS, 290 ISO since June 1st for Will Benson. And you said it. Colin Ray, 44% fly ball rate, 34% hard hit rate, 2 home runs per 9 innings, 360 WOBA, 242 ISO against lefties. Will Benson's the answer for me. Now, I'm okay playing McCarthy or Alec Thomas for that matter. If you want to play Arizona, Alec Thomas is actually the guy with the better numbers in the Arizona outfield if you're playing cheap options there. I prefer, of all 4 guys, Frelick, McCarthy, Benson, and Alec Thomas, I would say Benson's number 1 for me. Now, if you're stacking Arizona, I wouldn't hate getting to McCarthy or Alec Thomas.
Sure.
Thomas has a 195 ISO against right-handed pitching this year. That's a little surprising to me. That those are really good numbers.
Yeah.
The power has been on display. He was pretty good last year in spurts. Alec Thomas was. So Frelick is obviously a good play. The only thing we have to worry about with Graham Ashcraft is how good he can be at inducing ground balls at times. Yeah. So I'll go Benson 1, and I'll actually split the difference on the McCarthy thing, and I'll say Thomas too. I know he wasn't part of the question. I'll say Thomas over McCarthy for me.
Okay. Frelick's hitting cleanoff tonight for Milwaukee, by the way.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great lineup spot. Look, no, I'm not saying I'm not against playing Milwaukee because I do think they're interesting. I said that earlier. Thomas hitting 3rd, Contreras, Yelich has been amazing. Their top 4 is really good. It's just hard to if I were to stack Milwaukee, it's the top 4 and then forget the rest of the line.
Yep. I'll throw Kepler out there as just a dart throw home run play.
Sure.
Again, we know the power is there, and Castillo is basically giving up 2 home runs a game at this point. Any other deep dives down here for you?
We mentioned
here.
Fry.
Dickerson 24. You talked about Fry already at 23. Yeah. Wallner's hitting 5th. Again, lefty bat, some power in there. That looks to be it. So we got about 3 minutes left in the show, James. Let's get our home run calls out there.
Home run call. I'm gonna go Manny Machado. I'm sold on the Padres today. I'm gonna go Manny Machado.
Carroll for me. Cheap way out. We'll go there.
Yeah.
Top stack.
Arizona.
Diamondbacks. Yep. Value stack. Washington.
I mean, you can go Washington. I'll split the difference. I'm gonna go San Diego as my contrarian stack.
Okay. I like that. What's your value play of the night?
CJ Abrams.
Yeah, Abrams good. I'll throw Benson out there as the other value for the outfield. Let's get into our lineup building. Do we want to go Darvish Maeda here? What do we want to do?
I think that's let's toy with that. If we can't, we can go down to Bielak or.
Okay. Do we need to use Fry then a catcher probably?
Yeah, let's use Fry and
first.
And Benson. I feel like you can pretty much do anything after that. Like
throw Carroll in this 6K. We have 4,200 position here for the last outfield, second, third spots here. So, Candelario.
Yeah, if we're not using Machado.
We'll see. We use Machado. It's 39.9.
The spend downs at first were everywhere, so we could use any of those guys. Kirilloff, Belt.
Yeah, let's use Kirilloff. Let's see if we can get a home run call there. 45.50 for a second. Marte, 3,600.
Yeah, we have so much value. Frelick, McCarthy, or Alec Thomas. We don't. I think the rest of that 3K tier is kind of disgusting. Like I'd be okay with saving money or not spending it.
Sure. What are our stacks here? We got 2 Arizona.
We probably want
Alec Thomas for the wraparound?
Or McCarthy. One of the two, just because I think, like I said before, like I was like, what am I doing not playing more Arizona?
Sure. So we got that one off with the Machado here. Abrams, Benson. We only have one Washington.
Would it be a show without Twins and Nats exposure? Oh, Mark.
I wish we had like us here. We have a 3-man Arizona stack.
Mark understands the show. Mark understands.
All right, what's the 3,600? Can we get anybody up here? It's not really a spot. Not really a spot.
I mean, if we were to go up, it's like Belt. Yeah. And then we have 500 less.
I mean, we go Dom Smith. You want to go Dom Smith, and we'll get the connection with the.
I mean, I told you I'm playing Dom
Smith. All right, we're here. All right, so this is the lineup we got for everybody. Again, we'll be in the Discord. If you got any questions, find us there. You, Darvish, Kenta Maeda, Fry, Smith, Marte, Machado, Abrams, Benson, Carroll, Thomas is what we got going on here this evening. Again, see the scroll down the bottom. Final week to take advantage of the All-Pro 50% offer. Fantasy.com/All-Pro. Promo code MLB50 saves you 50% off the first 6 months. Get access to all of our sports, 7-day free trial included, fantasy football draft guide included, premium Discord included. Check it out. Get involved. Come join the family for the fantasy football season. Hey, we made a millionaire 2 years ago. Millionaire Mike won $1 million with our NFL DFS content. Single bullet in the FanDuel million. Knocked it out of the park. Won $1 million. So come join us for this upcoming fantasy football season. Get the package now. Fantasyline.com/all-pro. Promo code MLB50. For that, James and I will be back tomorrow. 12 games. Howard Bender will be on your playbook for that. We'll talk